was a cold, moonless night. The stars were obscured by a thick veil of fog that seemed to crawl along the ground, whispering eerie secrets to any who dared to listen. A light breeze rustled through the trees, their branches creaking and groaning as if in agony. The air was heavy with anticipation, as if something terrible was about to happen. A lone figure walked down a deserted road, their footsteps muffled by the damp earth. They could feel something watching them, following their every move, but they couldn't quite bring themselves to turn around and confront whatever it was. It was as if an invisible force was guiding them, pulling them ever closer to their destiny. As they continued down the road, the fog began to part, revealing a hidden path that wound its way through the dense forest. The trees seemed to close in around them, their branches forming a dark, menacing canopy above. The air grew colder and more oppressive, and the figure could swear they heard the distant howl of a wolf. But they pressed on, drawn by some inexplicable force to follow this secret path. The path led them to a clearing, where a massive, ancient oak tree stood, its gnarled roots twisting and intertwining around the earth like a writhing serpent. The figure hesitantly approached the tree, feeling as if they were intruding upon a sacred space. As they drew nearer, they noticed carvings in the bark depicting creatures both familiar and unspeakable. A soft, whispering voice echoed through the clearing, seemingly coming from all directions at once. "You have been chosen," it said. "You must decide." The figure turned around, but no one was there. The voice continued, "There is a balance that must be maintained, a cycle that must be preserved. You can choose to embrace your destiny and uphold the cycle, or you can choose to reject it and watch as the world crumbles around you." The figure felt a strange sensation wash over them, as if the voice was speaking directly into their soul. They looked down at their hands, expecting to see blood on their fingers, but instead found a single, glowing ember resting in their palm. The oak tree seemed to pulse with energy, its carvings glowing with an unearthly light. A second voice, cold and harsh, cut through the silence. "Fool, you have been deceived. There is no balance, no cycle, only suffering and death. Join us, and we shall show you the true path to power." The figure turned to find a hooded figure standing behind them, their face hidden in shadow. The glowing ember in their hand seemed to flicker and die, leaving their palm cold and empty. The ancient oak tree shuddered, its carvings fading into darkness. The fog closed in around them once more, obscuring the path they had taken. Confusion and doubt clouded their mind as they stood there, torn between the conflicting voices and visions. The hooded figure stepped forward, their cloak swirling ominously in the wind. "There is no time for hesitation," they hissed. "Choose your fate." They extended a bony, clawed hand, offering a single, glowing red gemstone. "Power awaits you, if you are brave enough to take it." The figure's heart raced as they looked back and forth between the ancient oak tree and the hooded figure. The oak tree seemed to weep, its leaves rustling in the wind, as if pleading with them not to make the wrong choice. But the temptation of power was strong, and the figure found themselves drawn irresistibly towards the hooded figure and the gemstone they offered. With shaking hands, they reached out and took the jewel from the figure's grasp. The gemstone felt cold and lifeless at first, but as they clenched it in their fist, it seemed to pulse with an evil energy that made their blood run cold. A sinister grin spread across the hooded figure's face, revealing sharp, jagged teeth. "Well done," they hissed. "You have made the right choice. Now come with me, and together we shall rule over all." As they spoke, the hooded figure turned and disappeared into the fog, leaving the figure alone in the clearing. The figure hesitated for a moment, their heart heavy with the knowledge of what they had done. But the gemstone's seductive power was too strong, and they followed the hooded figure into the darkness, leaving the ancient oak tree and the cycle of life and death behind them. The fog thickened as they walked, obscuring everything around them, and the figure began to feel as if they were being drawn into a nightmare from which they could not escape. The hooded figure led them deeper and deeper into the forest, until they emerged into a clearing surrounded by a ring of standing stones. In the center of the circle, a massive, hellish creature waited, its skin blackened by fire, and its eyes glowing like embers.